evening and welcome to this special telecast. I'm Sandeep Gurumurthy, joining you live from our news center in Mumbai, and a verdict that has sparked a massive political standoff. The special CBI court today acquitted all 19 persons accused in the 2G case, including former Telecom Minister Andimuthu Raja and DMK leader Kanimozhi. Special Court Judge O.P. Saini quashed all three cases filed by the CBI and the Enforcement Directorate, saying the investigative agencies miserably failed to prove the charges against the accused. The CBI had alleged that Raja advanced the cut-off date for telecom licenses in a bid to benefit a few, and also accused him of colluding with some corporate houses to manipulate the licensing process. The Enforcement Directorate, on the other hand, argued that the 200 crore rupee exchange between DB Realty and the DMK-owned Kalangir TV was nothing but a bribe. The DMK camp broke into big celebrations the moment the verdict was pronounced. The Congress too grabbed the political opportunity, saying that the ruling exonerates the UPA government of all charges. The BJP, on the other hand, slammed the Congress for treating the verdict as a badge of honor. To talk about the political ramifications of this sensational verdict, joining us in this special telecast, Sanjay Hegde, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court, Hitesh Jain, spokesperson of the BJP, and Sushmita Dev, MP from the Congress Party. Thank you all so much for taking time out and joining us here at ET now. Ms. Sushmita Dev, I'm going to start off with you. I'm trying to understand, what is the Congress Party celebrating in this verdict here? Because if my memory doesn't betray me, the Congress has traditionally distanced itself from this entire process, especially from the actions of Andimuthu Raja, the former Telecom Minister. I'm sure you're aware of letters written by the Prime Minister then, asking the then Telecom Minister to have a more transparent way of allocating spectrum. The former Finance Secretary Subba Rao, who went on to become the RBI Governor, also wrote repeated letters asking for a fair and transparent way of allotting spectrum. Why is the Congress Party celebrating today?
I mean, I don't know what you mean when you say celebration, but we did have a press meet. We addressed the press after the verdict came out. And the point we made is, if you like, a political one, that before the 2014 Lok Sabha election, the propaganda of the Bharatiya Janata Party was that the Congress is a part of this scam, that Congress leaders at the topmost level were involved in this, and there was a criminality in this. We all are aware the kind of campaign and propaganda the BJP led. The parliament was held to ransom by Sushma Swaraj ji and Arun Jaitley ji, saying this is a scam, this is a scam. They wanted a charge sheet. And the good part is that this entire proceeding was monitored by the Supreme Court. So all we said, we made a point that where the Prime Minister of India has gone on foreign land and actually said it was a scam India. They made much of the fact that Congress is a corrupt party, that today it is not us who's saying that there's no criminality in it. It is a court of law that has set it, and that's the only point we made. It's not a question of celebrating, but I think today the point had to be made that the BJP stands exposed for its false propaganda about the 2G and 3G so-called scam. That's all this was about.
Point taken, and I will ask you on the allotment process as well and the observations made by the Honorable Supreme Court. But I have to get a quick word in first from Hitesh Jain of the BJP. Hitesh Jain, the Congress is saying that you made it a political issue, this 1,76,000 crore, which many believe, frankly, that was a fallacious argument put out by the then Comptroller and Auditor General. You blew it out of proportion, and now today the 2G trial court has settled the debate once and for all. How are you going to respond to the charge made by Sushmita Dev?
I'm surprised why is Congress so happy about today's judgment, because today's judgment reflects all that is wrought on the UPA. Basically, if all that is wrought in the UPA has been written in the judgment: shoddy investigation, DOT do not knowing the terms of the definition that is being used, Finance Ministry behaving in a manner where they are shirking their responsibility. The problem is the judgment has also laid the observation as to what was happening at the doorsteps of the Prime Minister. And further, the Supreme Court has been very categoric in 2012 when it quashed the policy as arbitrary and causing loss to the exchequer of India, and it set aside the policy, and it clearly held that the policy was arbitrary and that it caused loss. So I don't know what Congress is all happy. In fact, they should be ashamed of themselves that today, because of the shoddy investigation on their part, the judge says that I have no other option but to release. Because in 2009, the FIR has been registered, no attempts taken to investigate. The judge is at the pains to explain that in 2011 statement under 161 started. So is this something they should be proud about, or is this something they should be ashamed about? I think they should read the complete text of the judgment, and then they should reflect on the kind of observations that they are making, and placing the and then trying to be trying to smirk over the judgment,
Okay,
or
Hitesh
like
Jain,
we told you so or something. It is
Hitesh Jain, while I agree with some of the points, I don't think the government of the day can cover itself in glory, because some of the observations made by the court, by the Honorable Justice O.P. Saini, as far as the prosecution even recently, is damning. And I have questions for you on that as well. If it was such a big case, why was such a shoddy prosecution done, is a question I'm going to ask you. But let me get in a word in from Sanjay Hegde. Mr. Hegde, your reaction as a neutral party, you're not wearing a political hat here. As a neutral party, how do you read this judgment that's come in today? Because one, while Sushmita Dev may claim the fact that there was no corruption, there was no sort of arbitrary allotment, and I'd like to read for the benefit of our viewers the judgment of the Supreme Court, the operative part, which says exercise undertaken by DOT under leadership of the then Minister of Communication was wholly arbitrary, capricious and contrary to public interest, apart from being violative of the doctrine of equality. Material produced before the court shows that the minister wanted to favour some companies at the cost of the exchequer. This is as explicit as it can get, was the judgment of the Honourable Supreme Court in when it cancelled 122 licenses in 2012.
See, let's first understand what's happened today. Today, what has happened is that a criminal court has gone into the entire record and said that the prosecution has failed to prove beyond reasonable doubt that a criminal offence has been committed. Basically, no case has been made out under the Prevention of Corruption Act or the IPC or any of those sections which were invoked and charges framed against the accused. Arbitrariness is a different concept. That is a concept in constitutional and administrative law. Let me put it this way. A man may be totally honest but can be arbitrary. A man may be non-arbitrary but can be dishonest and a criminal.
Right.
So the Supreme Court judgment dealt with the process of allotment and said that the process was arbitrary, and as a consequence cancelled the licenses. That operates on the plane of administrative law, on the plane of constitutional law. It was a writ court that did that.
Right.
But when you prosecute the individuals in court, you have to have rock solid evidence in court to convict them and put them away in jail. The prosecution simply failed to meet that burden today, and the judge had no other option but to acquit the accused.
Okay.
That's all. That's what has happened.
Okay, thank you for explaining that in a simple manner. And I have a follow-up question on that, Sanjay Hegde, but I want to get a quick word in from Sushmita Dev. Sushmita Dev, are you today saying that there was no irregularity in the process of allotment of spectrum in 2008 by the then UPA government? Are you saying that all the process was transparent, non-arbitrary, that there was no no compromise made to favour certain private parties? And I'm not saying by the Congress leaders, but by the then Telecom minister and by the then officials of the Department of Telecom. Are you today saying that there was nothing wrong that happened in the spectrum allotment case in 2008?
See, it is a matter of record that the process we were following was being followed over many years. This was not something that UPA gave birth to. Secondly, what I want to say is that the point we are making is Bharatiya Janata Party is constantly in the habit of maligning the Congress leaders, saying, they're a bunch of corrupt people. The question is that today, when Narendra Modi ji was acquitted by a court after the Gujarat riots, which is a very dark part of our Indian history, they applauded the courts. saying people died in those riots, doesn't matter who's responsible for it. Narendra Modi ji was held not responsible for it. If you applauded that judgment, I don't see the reason why now you're saying this is showing the rot in Congress and etc. Then I'm sorry to say Gujarat's riots showed the rot in the policy of RSS and BJP. Today a court has given a judgment saying there is no criminal liability found. Have the grace and have the courage to say that you accept the judgment or go up in appeal. You have your remedy. I mean, why? I mean, I don't understand that why you have to disparage the judgment of the court. If there has been irregularities, if there was a Supreme Court has cancelled the license, haven't they? But a criminality is a whole different issue. Corruption, Prevention of Corruption Act is a whole different issue. So in the same breath that you applaud the court for acquitting Narendra Modi ji on the Gujarat riots, in the same spirit, you should also applaud the decision of this court. And if CBI has made any blunders in the investigation and the proceedings, Supreme Court was monitoring everything. Right from the charge sheet till today. So are you casting an aspersion on integrity on the Supreme Court also? Okay,
Sushma Dev, you made your point. Hitesh, I'm coming to you, but simple point, which is who takes the blame for shoddy prosecution? Again, I'm going to quote from the judgment of Judge O.P. Saini today, which says that the witnesses from DOT were either highly guarded in the deposition, also went against official record. In the beginning, the prosecution started the case with great enthusiasm and ardor. So in the beginning, he's obviously referring to the prosecution under the UPA government. However, as the case progressed, it became highly cautious and guarded in its attitude, making it difficult to find out as to what prosecution wanted to prove. By the end, the quality of prosecution totally deteriorated and it became directionless and diffident. This is Judge O.P. Saini in his order today. Who takes the blame for this?
Sandeep, if you will look at the judgment, FIR filed in 2009. The statements are recorded till 2011, 2012. So you do not do that. What was happening? Bulk of the evidence was recorded in the period of 2012 to 2014. When the UPA was in power. In fact, it refers to the deposition of the late Solicitor General and other peoples also, other witnesses. So most of all the important witnesses were concerned, they were examined at the time when UPA was in power. So therefore, you have to ask the question, when UPA was in power, these witnesses are speaking in a feeling threatened and making the statement, and the courts are saying that they are changing their versions in the court. Who has got to be blamed? So your investigation is shoddy. The witnesses are coming, the witnesses are not, protected. Fine, Supreme Court is monitoring, but at the end of the day, the CBI was a caged parrot in the hands of UPA, which was noted by the Supreme Court itself. Because at the end of the day, Supreme Court was not on the scene trying to investigate the offence. It was CBI who was investigating. Supreme Court was not coming in the trial court and monitoring. Supreme Court was ensuring there is a day-to-day trial. Supreme Court was ensuring there is an expeditious trial. And then the Supreme Court has also come to the conclusion in 2012 that this policy is corrupt and dishonest policy framed to suit few private players and causing wrong to the exchequers. So one thing, as with Sanjay Hegde very clearly trying to carve out a distinction between arbitrary and criminality, there is not much of a distance. What is arbitrary, dishonest, and when the policy is set aside as causing wrongful loss, and all 122 licenses that were being set aside, that speaks to the volume that the UPA was causing loss to the India because of the corrupt policy that was framed in 2007, where they had pegged down to the rates in 2001.
Okay, so Hitesh, I take your point. Hitesh, I take your point. Sanjay Hegde, I don't want this to become all about political tutu meme. Okay, Hitesh, if I may just interrupt you. Hitesh, if I may interrupt you.
Neutral person, he is a biased person against the BJP and he supports Congress. So Sanjay Hegde, don't call him a neutral person. He is here as a Congress spokesperson.
Hitesh, leave some things to my judgment as well. You made your point. I'm sure my viewers can make out. Let us not color people. Hitesh, let us not color people, call them pro-Congress. I mean, let's not lower the nature of the conversation. Sanjay Hegde, I have a simple point. You made your point, Hitesh Jain. Now let me ask a simple question to Sanjay Hegde. I don't want this to become a political tutu meme. But how are we to read this observation of Judge O.P. Saini today when he says that the quality of, by the end of the case, the quality of prosecution totally deteriorated and it became directionless and diffident. How are we to read that observation?
Well, that's the judge's call to make, depending on what the prosecution presented. You must also remember that the prosecutor changed midway because the previous prosecutor became a Supreme Court judge. The second prosecutor was also appointed by the Supreme Court. He is a man of high integrity. And I don't buy this theory that, the witnesses deposed only during before 2014 and were diffident and therefore nothing could be done. If any prosecuting agency worth its salt felt that the case was not being properly handled, there were very many remedies, and if the witnesses turned hostile, you could have made an application to treat them as hostile witnesses and cross-examined them. Ultimately, the question you have to look at is, it is not the policy which is on trial in the criminal court. What is on trial in the criminal court is the individual guilt of each of those 19 accused who were arraigned before the criminal court. So there, Mr. Raja was quite entitled to be told, Mr. Raja, these are the documents against you. This is the allegation against you. This is the money trail which the prosecution seeks to prove against you. What do you have to say? And if all that could not be brought beyond reasonable doubt, Mr. Raja was entitled to be acquitted.
Okay. You made a point, Sanjay. I have a follow-up.
It's a truism that very often.
Right. So, Sanjay, I have a quick follow-up question based on a point that you made, and Hitesh and alluded to this as well, but I'm going to sort of, you earlier in your first answer, you made this distinction between criminality and the fact that, what was an administrative error or, but, my understanding of the Prevention of Corruption Act says arbitrariness, yes, that if there is any criminal misconduct is proved when you have caused an unfair gain to a private party without without an equal gain to the state. That is simply laid out in Section 13, Clause 1B.
Without any public interest.
Without any public interest. Yes. So that is Section 13, 1B of the Prevention of Corruption Act. Isn't that applicable in a case like this? How can we, and the Supreme Court in its wisdom has clearly observed that the entire process was arbitrary and fraudulent.
Let me explain arbitrariness to you.
Sure.
Arbitrariness in the administrative law sense is an outrageous defiance of logic. A man may be entirely honest, but he can take a decision in his capacity as a minister which is entirely arbitrary, which can be set aside by a court of law. See, let me give you an example more at home, which some people say. The thing is demonetization. We are not saying anything about the honesty of the Prime Minister, but the decision itself could be arbitrary. There is a challenge which is pending in the Supreme Court.
But it didn't cause any benefit to private parties. Here, licenses were given.
May hold that it is entirely.
It didn't cause any benefit to a private party. Here is a case where it was blatantly designed to benefit a few private parties.
No, please. As a result of demonetization, many of the credit card and the cashless companies did have a benefit. Don't go there. I'm just giving it to you as an example.
Sure.
That administrative action, ministerial action of any kind can be totally arbitrary without criminality.
Okay.
Now, criminality is a whole different kettle of fish. When you take a man to criminal court, you have to prove not only that he participated, but that he had the intent, and that the entire chain has to be proved, each link of it. At any stage, the case can break. And here, if your witnesses were diffident, if your witnesses changed their mind, your prosecution was diffident, at the end of the day, a criminal court is quite liable to say, boss, you've given me all this, but none of it adds up. It is not enough for me as a judicially trained mind to send a man to prison as proven guilty beyond all reasonable doubt.
Okay. Sushmita Dev, I'm coming to you, but I want to get Hitesh to quickly counter the point made by Sanjay Hegde, and then I'm coming to you, Sushmita Dev. Hitesh, you go first. Counter to what Sanjay Hegde has just said.
Sanjay Hegde is just playing with the words. It is not here and there. The fact is, what is the meaning of fraudulent? When you use the word, when the Supreme Court has clearly used the word fraudulent, now is fraud having a different meaning under the administrative law or the criminal law? I mean, this is just hair splitting with some meaning here and there, trying to use the jargon. I think if you look at the judgment, once the Supreme Court has come to the conclusion that there was a fraud in the policy and all, and if the lower court has ignored, I think the CBI has also rightly taken the position that they are going to file an appeal against this judgment, because as far as the concept of fraud is concerned, whether it is an administrative law or criminal law, it has the same meaning under the criminal, and it has got no different meaning.
Okay, Sushmita, they've come in on that, and I think it's a given that this matter is going to be subsequently challenged. And
can I come in for a minute?
Sanjay, I will come to you, but Sushmita has been hearing patiently the points that both you and Hitesh have been making. I need to give her a chance to speak as well. So I'll come to you after that, Sanjay. Sushmita, they very quickly, the fact is that it's a given that this is going to be challenged at a higher court, and you're absolutely right that the judgment of the trial court has to be taken at face value, and obviously it has to be respected by everyone. There's no question of that not happening. And if the judge is saying that it's because of lack of evidence, then so be it. But the limited point I'm trying to understand from you is that this is likely to be challenged at a higher court. There is a Supreme Court observation on some of these cases. Why is the Congress trying to prove that it is hand in glove with the DMK? Why is, there are visuals of Kanimozhi meeting and greeting, from Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad and Anand Sharma, senior leaders of your party. Why would the Congress want to do, why would it want to be seen as being hand in glove? Because tomorrow, if there were to be an adverse judgment, then, you can't then, remove the culpability of the Congress party to whatever happened to the manner in which this was arbitrarily allotted. Because, like I said at the start of this debate, the then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh rightly pointed to the arbitrariness of these decisions. And several officials of the government then, including the officials in the Prime Minister's office, including the then TRAI regulator, Mr. Nripendra Mishra, the Finance Secretary, all of them pointed to how this process was blatantly wrong. Why is the Congress now sort of almost giving a clean chit to the entire process?
See, you've said a lot in the last 1 minute, but I'd like to tell you something.
Sure.
That Kanimozhi is a member of parliament. She was behind bars for almost 7 months, as far as I know. She had children at home. Whether you and I like it or don't like it, she went through, and her family went through, a traumatic time. She has been acquitted, okay? And so I think Ghulam Nabi ji going there to meet her, I don't think you need to see it as some new angle of a new alliance or anything. There are certain courtesies we politicians have, across party lines or within the party. So I think she has been acquitted. She's been through a trial. CBI has the right to appeal against it. They should appeal against it. But I'm sorry to say, we also went to Dr. Manmohan Singh's house when in the coal scam, the court said that there was absolutely no culpability on his part. Yes, I don't deny that we showed our solidarity with Kanimozhi. There are various reasons for it. And we have consistently maintained that if anything is culpable, the law will take its own course. The law will take its own course. We don't have a problem with it. So let us not say Congress is celebrating or Congress is above the next appellate court and we have issued a judgment. We have reacted to a momentary respite that Kanimozhi has got, and I think that's graceful and it's well within our rights to do so.
Take that point. Hitesh Jain, simple question to you, and this is again Subramaniam Swamy, one of the key petitioners of this entire 2G case, the man who is, along with Prashant Bhushan, who are responsible for getting 122 licenses cancelled. Today in a press conference says there are people in the BJP who are not keen in fighting the battle of corruption. He has almost indicated that the then Attorney General or the first Attorney General of the NDA government, Mukul Rohatgi, was defending some of the accused, and today has welcomed the judgment, which is not consistent with the position of the party. He's saying that there's consciously that the NDA government went slow in this particular case. He's almost saying that there is some ulterior motive there. Arvind Kejriwal has tweeted saying that who botched up. So it's become a political issue, and there is some amount of answering that the BJP needs to do as well, because these are questions I'm not raising, but Subramaniam Swamy, your own party's MP, is raising today.
Sandeep, one interesting observation that has come in the judgment. Now, when the UPA filed the charge sheet in the case, the charge sheet was clearly filed in 2011 with the observation that A. Raja misled the office of the Prime Minister. Now, in the findings of the today's judgment, there is a specific section that is devoted as to who misled the Prime Minister. Now, interestingly, the court has come with the finding that it is not A. Raja who misled the Prime Minister. In fact, he informed Prime Minister everything. Now, Prime Minister was in fact misled by his own office. So, frankly speaking, if you look at the judgment, and his own office was not investigated in this case. So, if you will see the manner in which everything is going on, what is material and what is important to note in today's judgment, if there is a very serious concern that has been raised and which requires an investigation, is the finding of the trial court, which says that the Prime Minister was misled by his own PMO or representative. And who are this PMO representative? Pulak Chatterjee. Now, Pulak Chatterjee was one representative with whom the Prime Minister was never happy, and apparently he was appointed at the behest of the then Congress President. So there are a lot of issues.
Hitesh, I have read that point. I have read that operative part. Hitesh, I have read that operative part of the judgment, but you're not answering my question on the allegations raised by Subramaniam Swamy against your own party.
Scam.
Please answer that.
Why doesn't Mr. Jaitley investigate the GSPC scam in Gujarat? And answer for Jay Shah's, scam.
Rodgi is not the office
I mean, why doesn't Mr. Jaitley investigate for the GSPC scam?
Okay, Sushmita, if I may interrupt you, let him answer the question that I asked him on what is the BJP's position on the charges raised by Subramaniam Swamy, who is your own party MP and one of the key petitioners of the 2G case. Please answer that question, Hitesh.
Sandeep, as far as Mukul Rohatgi is concerned, from 2011 to 2013, he was representing the accused, and he is not the office bearer of BJP. He was an Attorney General, yes, but he was always representing the accused from the period 2011 to 2013, and today also he is not the office bearer of BJP. So therefore, if anyone makes any statement attributing that Mr. Mukul Rohatgi reiterates the position of the BJP, that's not the correct thing. I think the CBI has very clearly stated that we have studied the judgment and we are going to file the appeal in the Delhi High Court. So what matters is the position of the CBI that has been taken, and the government also not endorsing the stand of Mr. Mukul Rohatgi.
Okay. I'm running out of time. Sanjay, I'm going to let you have the last word on what's going to happen next, because
he didn't answer the question on Subramaniam Swamy.
Yeah, he didn't, but I'm running out of time. I'm going to give Sanjay the last word. The Supreme Court said very clearly that special judges of CBI should not decide in this matter uninfluenced by the Supreme Court judgment. That's an important point to mention for the benefit of our viewers, because some would be wondering that on the one hand you had a Supreme Court verdict, and then why is this trial court's verdict completely in some ways in contrast to the Supreme Court judgment? Because it was the Supreme Court that itself told the trial court that your judgment should be uninfluenced by our view. Given that context, what is going to happen next? Sanjay Hegde.
What is going to happen next is I expect an appeal to be filed. Whether the CBI files it, the ED files it, there will be an appeal, because this is a case which no government can pull it or prosecution agency can say no, there is no case for appeal. Even if after reading the judgment they come to the conclusion that there really is no case. Despite that, they will file an appeal. An appellate window is much narrower. When a person is acquitted, the presumption of innocence is doubly strengthened, unless and until the judgment is shown to be perverse, and perverse of a high order. The appellate court rarely interferes. So the windows of consideration will get narrower and narrower as the appeal travels upward from the High Court to the Supreme Court. I think a very important chapter has come to an end. The chapter has come to a close. Whether people accept it or not, maybe it's time to move on to a new book.
Okay. An important chapter has come to a close, says Sanjay Hegde. Wonder if people of this country will accept that as well, and what is actually going to be the outcome of whether this turns out to be a long draw.
Not for the people, only for Sanjay Hegde such chapters come to an end.
Hitesh Jain, let's leave it at that. I know it's a fiery debate, it's an emotional issue, but the judgment is coming from the 2G trial court. It is going to be challenged, and of course, I'm sure the judiciary knows what's best and will take a suitable decision. Thanks so much, Sushmita Dev, Sanjay Hegde, and Hitesh Jain for joining in with your perspective on that on the 2G verdict that's coming today from the CBI Special Court. Thanks for watching this special telecast. Keep it with ET now.